But the big problem that games have got, time and time again, and especially with something like Fable, it's such a big, huge, massive game full of regions, full of free-flowing game mechanics and freedom for the player. The big problem we have is seeing the story early enough. And in Fable 1 and Fable 2, one of the reasons we didn't quite get to that drama was simply we weren't able to see the story until the game was almost finished. And which is a little bit crazy, really, when you think about it, not being able to hear the voices or see what a performance is like. So what we've been doing is experimenting with a new way of seeing the story earlier. So what we did was we did something called staging. We wrote the story, we did all the scripts of the story, it's a huge, massive story. And then we went to a film studio called Shepperton, where we hired a big sound stage, bigger than this room. We got a whole load of actors and actresses in, and a proper professional director, and we started acting out the entirety of the story. And I want to just share some moments of this with you now, and just say why, as a designer, that is so important. So here we are.
Judgment of this Fairfax castle servant will now commence. The subject
This is
stands
one of
accused
the
of treason.
scenes from Fable 3.
Just let me go and I'll show you
And
some
what
real
was so
shit.
interesting about this scene is that us as designers and scriptwriters had written it one way, where
Dare talk about my
I've long
I
suspected
was going
the
to give
presence
you
of
this
traitors
character's
within
name
the
and
castle.
spoil it, but where this
Before we
character
collaborate
was
with our
very
enemies
much
with the rebels
pacing and walking around. But the staging and what some of the ad-libbing that was going on from the actors enabled us to do was to really recast the whole scene. Now, while we're doing this, we have cameras, and these cameras are simulating in-game cameras. We have people like Mark Hill rewriting the dialogue as we go, as we were inspired by this. And we've been doing this for weeks and weeks, trying to get to the heart of this story. And this is very, very important, especially when you think that our story isn't just one thread. It's actually branches and merges, and there's lots of choices, and there's lots of consequences, and we have to get to the center of that as quickly as we possibly can. And just being able to see a camera this close, do we want to have this in-game? Do we want to have the ability to get cameras that close? We've got the look-at trigger, if you remember from Fable 2. We can still have that look-at, but that should be a lot more meaningful than it has been before. So all of this staging has taken place. That staging video then goes back to the animators, back to the gameplay scripters. They're inspired to balance around that, and we found that a fantastic inspirational thing. And I think because of this, because again we're using some of the voice talent that you have from Fable 2, we're using again in Fable 3, we're getting some new voice talent as well. I'm really beginning to get a lot more confident that the story can be truly, truly dramatic.